There was a news item today that I think is important, and that is that Saudi Arabia is no longer respecting the US NYMEX oil price. That may imply also the thing that they announced, that they would no longer only sell their oil in dollars, basically making it unguaranteed that if you have dollars that you can always buy oil for that. That's basically only uh, that 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 right now the arrangement is, or has been, that if you have dollars you can always buy oil with it. If some country has oil, they first have to sell it in dollars and then you can transfer it to other currencies.
Hmm.
And that has meant that the US had free oil. That's outrageous, but it's a fact. And whatever banking scam you do around it to let's say tranquilize and relax the people that think that's unjust, so you print dollars out of thin air and then you transfer it to Saudi Arabia and then they have these dollars on the bank account and it looks like a huge amount, but basically they're being robbed. Basically they have had an involuntary trade, which is stealing for oil, and that has been going on for many years, and they were very unhappy about it. And then Saddam Hussein wanted to change it, and he got invaded, and then Iran wanted to change it, and he got accused of being a nuclear power, which Israel of course also is. And I have to note here that Israel has said that it would even use nuclear weapons against the Palestinians in Gaza Strip. So how insane can a country be like Israel? That's just very dangerous, and there might be something behind it, but I don't have any proof for that, so I'll not talk about it. But the consequences of the decision of Saudi Arabia are that uh, that the US will have trouble buying oil. Basically, the foreign countries will have a choice either to accept euros or dollars, or yen or dollars, or yuan or dollars. Well, of course they'll go for the other currencies because the countries of those other currencies are not so deep in debt. And they can buy stuff because they have a lots of manufacturing capacity. Even in Europe, it's I think not very bad. We produce a lot. Germany is the biggest export country in the world still. So if you have euros, you can buy stuff in Germany. That makes a euro very valuable. The dollar is not so much because first of all, if you wanna manufacture in the US, you need fuel. And so here is another huge case. If you're not believing climate change and you don't believe in peak oil that it's gonna run out, then maybe the fact that you won't be able to buy your oil because your country has nothing to offer in return for it might be a reason to look into alternative energies. And that has the looking into alternative energy has gone on in America very, very professionally since the 70s, and all that knowledge is basically has been ignored and has been pushed away by the oil companies, by the oil lobbies. That's how short-sighted these industries have been. It's criminal. Uh, but on the other hand, it's amazing if you start reading the patents that NREL has and that NASA has. They have all kinds of heat engine technology. Well, heat engine means basically that you have heat, temperature, high temperature, and you make electricity from it, or some other type. You make a fuel from it. You can make ammonia with heat. You can split water with heat. All that stuff. So developed all that technologies, all those alternative technologies. And they were, if they would all have been, let's say, brought to some maturity, and they would not all have been pushed away by the single monopoly of oil and coal and gas and the combustion engine all the time, because of course recently there's been a change a little bit, but then there would now be a whole ecosystem of different alternative energies available to everybody. And I'm trying to promote that with my parabolictrough.org and solarball.org, which are two cheap solar concentrating technologies that everybody can build, and you should look into it. But that should have happened years ago, and then there would not be any problem with Saudi Arabia, or any problem with the fact that they stop selling their oil in dollars. Uh, and I would suggest for everybody in the US, or the government of the US, to simply take any oil profits that are now made by US companies. Profits I'm talking about, so they can run their business, but of course they make profits, huge profits. Skim those profits and use every cent to implement viable long-term alternative energy sources. Not nuclear, you know, but something else. Solar, concentrated solar power, for instance.